Here we go. So in this episode, you'll be tuning into 5 wide receivers I'm looking to move off of here as we approach week 5 fantasy football. In some cases, these aren't even going to be players that you can sell at an inflated value here this week after big games. These are just names to keep in the back of your mind as options to move off of here as soon as humanly possible. Now, we're not selling these guys for a bag of Doritos here, but what we are doing is looking to approach better assets and acquire better pieces for our teams here as we're still in the early phases. We just finished the first month of the NFL season. So if you're new around here, smash that like button, subscribe, and turn the bell on so you're never late for a piece of content. You can dive right on in here, ask me your trade questions and scenarios each week, and I can help you out, get those questions answered, and set you guys up for success in the coming weeks this season. So I appreciate you guys. Let's dive into the video. All right, here, before I talk about selling a player who I really admire as an athlete, I have to pay my respects to DK Metcalf. An absolutely legendary move by one heck of a player to request a training cart, the gator, if you will, to take him to the locker room so that he could take a dump in the middle of the game. Apparently, he wasn't going to be able to clench hard enough to walk himself to the locker room and relieve himself. Again, GOAT status for that absolute legendary move there against the Detroit Lions this past week, where I should mention we did have DK Metcalf as a start for the week. So DK, that leads us into our sell here. The reason for this is that DK has absolutely feasted on 2 very favorable matchups on paper. Now, the 22 targets he got in these games, pacing him out for 11 per game, are very nice to see. However, I think we have to taper our expectations in terms of what that's overall going to look like here going forward. Not every NFL defense is nearly as bad as the Lions and the Falcons secondaries are, which Atlanta has actually, again, I say this every week, they do give up big plays and they get mossed on occasion here, but guys like A.J. Terrell are very solid corners, actually just totally shut down Amari Cooper and held him to half a fantasy point this past week and half PPR scoring. But besides the point, DK is a very talented player. This is a big play maker, and you love to see him getting volume like this, but the reason I'm selling DK is because of his streakiness in his quarterback play. Geno Smith played very well this week. They scored 45 points on the Detroit Lions. However, the Lions are number 1 in total points allowed this season. They've actually scored 140 points this year and allowed 141. So depressing stuff there. What is it? They're 1-3 now. As a result, they just haven't been able to close games or play any defense on the back end. So first and foremost, starting with that, putting context behind the numbers DK has been putting up here. He's got 12 receptions in the last 2 weeks for 213 yards and a touchdown. Again, that being his last 2 games. So for me, Seattle is not marching out and scoring 45 points with Geno Smith every week. That's just not going to be the case here. We had Rashad Penny ripping off big runs. We had DK Metcalf making plays. Tyler Lockett did some nice things this week. And overall, I'm just not sold. I'm still skeptical about this situation here as I was during draft season and the primary reason for me staying away from this offensive situation this year. Now, has Geno Smith been better than I expected him to be here? Of course. He has definitely been a pro's pro. He's actually protected the football at a fairly solid rate. I thought it'd be turnovers left and right, god-awful errant throws, and he has held this situation down much better than I think Drew Lock would have. And personally, I'll be the first to tell you, I thought it would be better to just have Drew Lock chucking the ball downfield to DK than it would be to have Geno Smith in here. But I've appreciated what I've seen from Geno Smith. One of my favorite games of the year still is the Broncos Seahawks Monday Night Football game when Seattle upset them. So all besides the point here, aside from fantasy football purposes, but what it is I essentially don't trust the situation. When you give me guys like Mike Williams and a Chargers offense led by Justin Herbert, who are streaky but wide receiver 1 level producers when they hit their peak here, that I can deal with. But for DK with Geno Smith, yeah, they're getting negative game scripts here and there. Yes, he can go up there and make the big Moss play, but for me, it's just not consistently reliable enough. And so I look to move off of him here. If there's anyone that you can get someone all razzed up about and hyped up for on the trade market, it's DK Metcalf, a guy as flashy as him, as efficient as him when he's making these big plays. I should note his efficiency, though, this season has dipped a bunch as his volume has increased at times. The quality of targets he's getting is just lower, so he kind of needs those extra opportunities in order to walk out there and end up putting up reliable points. But for me, DK Metcalf is still a sell here. His value is definitely up. The last 2 games have kind of made us forget about the stinkers he had the first 2 games, and for that reason, it's kind of, for that exactly, that you'll see me moving off of him here. Now, Mike Williams, I just said, hey, I can live with the streaky wide receiver one production with an elite tier quarterback. However, with Mike Williams, while he hasn't truly hit the last 3 weeks in a row, he has either had 100 yards, a touchdown, or both in each of the last 3 games. Now, the one game was the Herbert game against who were they playing? They're playing the Jacksonville Jaguars. They got absolutely stomped out, and Mike Williams had a touchdown reception, didn't really do much aside from that. It was literally his only catch of the day. So that's where that odd stat I just threw at you comes from, but he has done something nice in each of the last 3 games. The reason I'm moving off of Mike Williams here is because stacking 3 games on top of each other in a row seems to just give me the worst feeling in the world in terms of about what week 5 presents for Mike Williams. In each of those 3 games, one thing has been a common precedent here. No Keenan Allen or not Keenan Allen for the whole game. You've essentially got 2.5-ish games here with no Keenan Allen the past 3 contests, who is easily the most dependable target weapon for this team. I will sell high on Mike Williams right now and try and recoup and field a player that I'm more confident in, like a Michael Pittman, who just had a down week here, in an offense where I see him as the clear and unquestioned alpha every single week. Because like I said, Keenan Allen's not giving you the same ceiling that Mike Williams has given you, but he is giving you double-digit targets and on a consistent and frequent basis here. And Mike Williams has had double-digit targets in 2 of the last 3 weeks. So everyone forgets about the week 1 stinker where Mike Williams was basically a no-show here because of what he's done in the absence of Keenan Allen. I'm not falling for it, or at least I'm not going to blindly hold Mike Williams. This isn't necessarily the fact that you absolutely just have to get him off your team at all costs. That's not the take here. It's take advantage of the good fortune you've had here in terms of the opportunity without Keenan Allen, his ability to deliver and produce in the absence of him here. Prepare yourself for the game with him coming back. Maybe he still produces nice things in Keenan's first game if he's getting worked back in or on a pitch count. But my full expectation is the erratic inconsistency, which if you're a true Mike Williams drafter, if you mindfully and had a thoughtful process when drafting him, you were prepared for and totally and 100% capable of doing, you would essentially know that this was going to be the situation at play, and you'd be fine with that. But if you're not, if you don't want to go back to those boom bust flip a coin weeks we had in 2021, which I forecast to be the case here moving forward, that's where I'd move off of him here. So while I do like a Mike Williams more than the DK Metcalf, as I said, and kind of teased in that last take there with DK, I will still move off of him for a more reliable piece that also gives me a very good ceiling if that's an opportunity at play. You could, of course, always use Mike Dubb as a helping piece to address, an elite wide receiver 1 level player. Maybe you want to add him and someone else into a deal to go buy low on a Jamar Chase, whose stock is a little bit down right now and has actually been kind of outshadowed by T. Higgins as of late. So just tossing out ideas, talking through and walking through some thought processes here. And then Marquise Brown, Hollywood Brown here, 3 straight 11 target games for Hollywood. This is where I'm selling high. We're 2 weeks away right now from the return of DeAndre Hopkins. He has suspended 6 games this year. It is week 5 right now. So you play week 5, you play week 6, and then in week 7, DeAndre Hopkins is back. Now, I should check on bye weeks just to make sure that he's not going to be gone for the bye or something like that. Regardless, he is going to miss 6 games, whether or not, it doesn't matter what week their bye happens. It doesn't count in terms of fulfilling a suspension requirement. So Hollywood is essentially peaking right now. You've had very productive games from him the first month of the year, 228 yards and a touchdown in the last 2 weeks here. The volume, the consistency, all this stuff is things that I expect to dip. Now, there is the potential that the ceiling actually gets higher for Hollywood with Hopkins back. More respect and attention to Hopkins means lighter coverage on Brown. Maybe he makes some bigger plays over the top of the defense, but he is easily going to become one of these hit or miss players every week where, if healthy, and it is a question mark, some people, like I was talking about, this is actually another video. This is the running back segment that I just filmed before this. Some players just, think that certain guys are made out of glass and can't stay healthy. Some people feel that way about DeAndre Hopkins. I feel that way to an extent at times. I like to give guys the benefit of the doubt, though. He has rested for 6 weeks here, so I hope to God that he comes out and doesn't have a questionable hamstring. But the point and the explanation here is that if Hopkins is on the field, he is the alpha, in my opinion, for this team. He is the guy that's going to see top coverage from the other team if they choose to shadow. Not a lot of teams do that anymore, but he's the guy that I expect Murray to be going to with the football. Now, like I said, that means more efficiency, a higher yards per catch, bigger play over the top opportunities for Hollywood, who I don't believe is really a true NFL wide receiver one. It is really the reason for his lack of big plays to start this season, facing the top coverage from the opposing team. So I think you sell high here, see what you can feel on the open market. I saw a really nice fair deal earlier today. Someone was trading Michael Pittman or receiving Michael Pittman for Hollywood Brown, basically a certified and asserted alpha in his offense in exchange for a guy in Hollywood who could find himself descending here over the next few weeks. Obviously, I think he's still going to produce the next couple of weeks here, but the closer that DeAndre Hopkins gets to returning, the more that starts to get in the front of people's minds as the media just talks about his return here, the lower that can have, or the more significant of an impact that can have on Hollywood's trade stock here. DJ Moore, now kind of out of the camp of players you can sell high on. I'm going to keep this quick because it really, to be honest, it frustrates me to talk about this, because Carolina's offense is just such an absolute nuisance to watch right now. This is a player who had 162 targets last year. Now, he averaged 6 targets per game the first 3 weeks of the year. He came out this past week and had 11 targets, nearly doubling that. Awesome, cool, great, right? He produced better, didn't he? Well, actually, he had under 10 points per game, or under 10 points total in half PPR scoring still, and averaged under 10 yards per reception at 6 catches, so literally almost a 50% catch rate, which is still below the bar, and had 50 yards in the day. So I don't even know what 50 divided by 6 is, but it's not 10 yards per catch, and that's kind of frustrating. It's just been, it's not something you absolutely have to do, and I'm not trying to make this seem like an overly big deal, which I pretty much am right now. But Baker Mayfield has just absolutely obliterated this Panthers passing offense. It's so frustrating to see for a guy as talented as DJ Moore. I literally feel like right now talking to you guys, I am the video of DJ Moore, just oh my God, did you guys see that? Go on Instagram, look up DJ Moore, or go on Twitter. It's probably an easier place to find it. Heck, go on YouTube and just search DJ Moore interview. The dude is trying so hard to just not cuss out this reporter, telling him that he needs to get more open for Baker Mayfield. It's the most ridiculous thing I've ever seen in the world. So poor DJ Moore here. Baker's killing his stock. This offense can barely move the football. They literally need Christian McCaffrey to be everything and more to this offense as the versatile playmaker, just making things happen on the ground. It is hard pressed for this offense to move the chains, and DJ Moore is doing what he can here, but it's not nearly enough, and obviously that's affecting his fantasy outlook, just with Baker not being able to competently distribute the football to him. That's literally all he has to be, a distributor of the football, and he can't do that. He's an absolute head-scratching, I don't know. It's just it's too much for me. I feel myself getting overwhelmed here with pure Baker Mayfield just distaste, and I would love to see him benched very, very soon. Now, Sam Darnold is injured. Sam Darnold is not a great option either, but at least Sam Darnold consistently got him targets and got him to an area of 162 targets in 2021. So, Sammy, at least you got that going for you. Both of you are busts, though. Diontae Johnson here, the last name I'll talk about for today. Now, Diontae, a lot of people probably still thinking, hey, we don't really want to sell guys when their value dip. I get it. However, I am concerned about forecasting this situation for Pittsburgh's offense out forward right now. He had 10 or more targets every week this season except for week 4. What happened in week 4, Gavin? Kenny Pickett came in. And it's not me saying that Diontae Johnson can't have double-digit target games anymore. It's not me saying that he can't be a productive player anymore. But what we saw this season is that with lacking quarterback play, Mitchell Trubisky, despite being tops in not tops in terms of number 1 overall, but he was, I believe it was top 6 in deep targets and air yards for wide receivers through 3 weeks here. Diontae Johnson still struggled to make plays happen and ultimately give you any sort of ceiling potential in your fantasy lineups. He's been strictly a floor play, a possession wide receiver, and a guy who catches a high volume of passes and just gets points in the box score, but doesn't really do anything to change your life in terms of overall production. So I'm worried because I think this quarterback change could kind of shake up the wide receiver room and the distribution of targets here. It was George Pickens, the most productive receiver, going over 100 yards on 5 catches from Kenny Pickett, 6 total for the game, just 1 with Mitchell Trubisky. So I'm a little concerned here. I think that the George Pickens breakout could be upon us. Of course, his involvement in the offense would just mean less opportunities for others. That impacts Diontae Johnson too. You've got Pat Freiermuth out there doing things for this team as well. Najee Harris hasn't been super factored into the receiving game. So there's a lot of mouths to feed here. I haven't even mentioned Chase Clownpool yet. It's just going to become a situation where the sustainability of those double-digit target games, the frequency at which they occur, could be dipping here. That is a problem for me. And again, has had no ceiling with good target volume and opportunity in weeks 1 through 3, and then had 4 targets in one game with Kenny Pickett, and it wasn't even a full game, it was a half. So I guess you can chalk it up and blame Mitch Trubisky for part of that, but Kenny Pickett is the guy moving forward. So maybe after having a week of practice, preparing to be the starter, actually repping with the number 1 offensive unit, things get better here. But to begin with, prior to the quarterbacking change, I was thinking about this already as a guy who really is a flex play right now. He's the wide receiver 29 in PPR scoring, which is supposed to be his strongest scoring format in terms of what his skill set just kind of favors here in terms of being a high volume receiver. And he was still a wide receiver 3 in that category with Trubisky, who was clearly favoring him as the top dog for this team. So that was a lot. We unpacked a lot of stuff in today's episode. To recap, I'm selling DJ Moore, Diontae Johnson, Marquise Brown, Mike Williams, and DK Metcalf, all for the right prices, of course. If you're wondering what that is, again, for your leagues, and have trade scenarios for me, drop your teams, your trade questions, whatever it is down in the comment section below. I'm here. I'm happy to be a resource for you guys and help you out win your leagues this season. So smash that subscribe button, turn the bell on if you're new around here. I appreciate you guys for stopping in today and hanging out with me for a bit. Stay tuned for more videos to come this week. Multiple videos coming out every single day here, so you don't want to miss any of it. I'm here for it all, and I'll see you guys in the next one. Peace out.